Hello friends, welcome back to VOWIAS. So welcome back to this discussion of the Vision IAS mains test series. This is test 4 and here we are going to discuss the part 4 where we will discuss from question number 16 to question number 20. So see, daily we are covering 5 questions. The main intention behind this is that you will be able to cover this along with your regular studies. So 5 questions per day if you see. Monthly at least 25 days we'll upload. So about 125-130 questions you will get per month. So at least if you can revise these 125-130 questions per month, then definitely you'll be in a great space after the prelims. Because see, at the end of the day, your aim is to clear the exam. It's not about clearing prelims itself. So for that, being prepared for mains is very, very important. So just follow this initiative regularly. Just watch this video for 15-20 minutes. Just follow this summary that we have prepared. This is more than sufficient. This is more than sufficient. If we can just follow it just till March 15th, at least till March 15th or March 20th, if you're not confident in the prelims, then you're going to cover about 300-350 questions, more than 350 questions. So more than 350 questions, if you are able to cover them, see how much confidence you will have after the prelims. बहुत confidence होगा आपको. You will just have to revise these things. You just have to revise the content that you have and just go to the exam. Definitely you'll clear. No one is going to stop you, that is for sure. Okay, so let's start with the 16th question, and the 16th question is on the GST, the goods and service tax. So the GST is an indirect tax, came into effect on the 1st of July 2017 by replacing other indirect taxes like VAT, service tax, etc. It's also a destination based tax. So in general, if you see in the exam, they will not ask the salient features. They will not ask this thing, they will just ask the analysis. So these salient features and all, you just have to write them if you have some time in a box. Just draw a small box towards the right hand side, GST. You will just write like this, destination based tax, IGST and CGST are there, something like this in a diagrammatic way if you can just write. Then you are giving some extra information to the examiner which will help you, which will give you that extra half mark or 1 mark. And then it's all about that extra half mark, 1 mark. The fight is all about that. Okay. So these are the features. Next, if you see the achievements and challenges, this is the main thing. The achievements, what did it achieve till now? The first thing, it widened the tax base. So the tax base actually doubled from 66.25 lakhs to 1.28 crores. And also the cascading effect was removed. The inefficiencies in the indirect tax were removed. Efficiency in overall tax regime has increased. It saved over 50% of the logistics effort and the transit time of goods. It reduced transaction cost by eliminating 2% of the additional cost, the central sales tax and all. So overall taxes have reduced. It allowed taxpayers to track the compliances in the online GST portal. Everything is online now. Right. So the transparency in the system is much more compared to the previous era. All of these things are the achievements. Okay. You can even write the recent numbers, the highest collections which we have seen in recently. Those things also you can write. But there are several challenges. What are the challenges? The thing is that still there are we first have these multiple rates. That is the first major challenge. The multiple rates again increasing the complexity. So multiple rates is one thing. Also actual collection is lower than the initial estimations. Though collection has increased, but actual collection is still lower than the one which we estimated. The compliance and unethical profiteering due to fluctuating tax rates. So that's why we have this anti-profiteering clause. The current GST return filing structures put burden on the taxpayer with the requirements of the processing valid tax invoice, actual receipts of goods, etc. And also the conflict rulings by the benches of the appellate authority from advance ruling across states led to the confusion among taxpayers. And also tax evasion is something which is still which we still could not avoid because of the fake invoice, the fake e-way bills and so on. And it's estimated that we are losing about 40,000 crores because of this. Right. So these are the pros and cons. So even if it's asked about the pros and cons, way forward is something you just have to include. So what can be the way forward? So way forward is about more simplification of the tax regime, easy compliance. All these things we can write. Single rate, bringing the petroleum under this GST, petroleum and alcohol in this GST regime. All these things also we can include. Right. So next 17th question. 17th question is on the digitization of land records. Yesterday we have seen about land. Land reforms is something which is very important for us The reforms only will ensure that we develop, we will utilize the land for the development, we will ensure that people get benefited from the business, the new businesses will be set up, the government can use the land for infrastructure. So for all these things, the land reforms is very, very important. So among the land reforms, digitization is one of the most important thing, because with this digitization, the biggest advantage is that we will have a clear idea about the land that is there. So there will be no frauds. Also, we will have a clear picture about the vacant land, where it is vacant, and also we can use the land very efficiently. So the advantages, if you see, currently according to Niti Aayog, the land dispute takes over 20 years to be resolved. So this can easily be solved with the digitization. There will be much more clarity in the registrations and all. The land is used as a collateral for loans by the farmers, and the digitization will make these things easy, because when the land is used as a collateral, if things are digitized, the bank will be able to verify it very easily. So there will be faster disbursement of this agricultural credit, and also the economy of the country is shifting from this agriculture to manufacturing and services. So for the new infrastructure and all these things, we need land, and that can then, because of this digitization, we will easily know where we have this land. So planning will become easy in brief sense. Right. Next, since many colonies in which poor reside are unauthorized, it is difficult for the urban bodies to provide basic services to them. So this land digitization will make it easy for the urban bodies to take measures. Also, it will make easy for the establishment to check for any encroachments and all. To check the Benami, the standing committee on 2015 said that the generation of black money through the Benami Transaction Act could be checked by the digitization and updation of the land records, because lot of Benami records, they can be easily unearthed. But this has a lot of challenges. What are the challenges? This land system, if you see the system of land records, it was inherited from the Zamindari system, and the legal framework in India does not provide for guaranteed ownership. So there are a lot of issues because of that, and the manner in which the information pertaining to land records is collected, that is also an issue, right? And also non-availability of encumbered free land, the non-updation of the land records, resistant to joint measurement survey of the land records. All these things are the issues. This lack of the skilled manpower is another issue. The Revenue Department as custodian of the textual records, Survey and Settlement Department managing the spatial records, and Registration Department responsible for land transaction. They lack synergy overall. So synergy between various departments, between the registration, the Revenue Department, all these things. There is lack of this awareness and digital literacy among the people. All of these things are the issues, various issues. Okay, so now these issues are there. So how we can solve these issues? Here you can write these schemes. The Swamitva scheme, the E-Bhumi of Karnataka is an example. All these things we can write here. Swamitva scheme, E-Bhumi of Karnataka and all. Okay, right. So this is about the land digitization. Next question is on 18th question is on the NPAs. So NPA, or the non-performing asset. So here we can start with the definition. So NPA, a loan is considered as an NPA if the due date for the interest payment, it has missed, and it has passed 90 days. So like that we can just start with the basic definition. Okay, we can start with the basic definition. And for agricultural advances, instead of 90 days, the cropping seasons are taken into consideration. So like this we can just start with the basic introduction. Now there are three classifications for the assets: substandard, doubtful, loss. Substandard means NPA for not more than 12 months, less than 12 months. For more than 12 months, it's a doubtful asset. So for loss asset, that means the loss identified by the bank and external auditors or RBI inspection, and the amount has not been written off totally. Amount has not been written off totally. So that is called as loss asset. That means bank has lost, but still they will try to recover it. So RBI data shows that the gross NPA of the scheduled banks in 2021 doubled since 2014, but declined from 9.5 trillion for the year 2019 to 8 trillion in 2021. So approximately you can say 6 to 7% is the NPA currently. 6 to 7% we have. And recognition of NPA or hidden assets, if you see, the large scale asset quality review, which came in 2015 to identify the NPA in transparent manner, large credit database with the central repository of information on large credits, the prompt and corrective action framework by the RBI, and even the recapitalization. For the recapitalization, we have the Mission Indradhanush, the National Asset Reconstruction Company, the resolution of insolvency. We have this insolvency bankruptcy code, Project Shakt, Project Sashakt, all these things, and the reforms, like what are the reforms that are needed. So basically, you will start with the NPA basic definition. You will write these things. Then for the recognition of NPAs, how it can be done by the large scale asset quality review and central repository information on large credits with the like having a database, the prompt corrective action created by RBI. All these things will write, and also the recapitalization is another important thing. So we'll write briefly about recapitalization. Next, resolution of the insolvency. So if the business business which has taken the loan, if it goes into debt and if it's not able to repay the debt, then the insolvency can be kicked in. So we have this insolvency bankruptcy code, Project Sashakt and all for recovering of this NPS. So all these things will write, and then what more is required? Because in spite of all these things, we still are not able to recover a lot of money. Lot of assets are being lost, and also because of COVID, the NPAs have risen. That also we have seen. So if you see, the NPA in general has a great impact on the economy at large. So the impact, if you see, first is it reduces the profitability for the banks. The next thing is that the capital of the banks will get affected, because under the Basel III norms, the bank has to maintain a minimum capital for the deposit it is receiving. So this will take a hit. The liability on the financial system increases. The credit culture in the entire economy will take a hit. Also, the public confidence on the financial institutions reduces. This is a major hit, because when the public confidence decreases, then there will be a run on the bank. That means the entire financial structure slowly collapses. So this is the major impact. Now, what is the main cause for this NPA? Why these NPAs are increasing eventually? And in the recent past, why we have seen this? So some of the causes, if you see, the first is the poor governance of the banks, because lot of in all these major public sector banks, we will have lot of these political interference and all. There is a lot of nexus between the politicians and the businessmen. The priority sector lending, if you see, under this, lot of loans are given to the agri sector and lot of loans are given to these MSMEs. So there will be major defaults from these two sectors, in fact. So this is another thing. Also the risks generally the banks take, that is also another reason. The COVID, this has actually impacted all the business, and because of this, the NPAs have risen. Also the international reasons, like the war in Ukraine, the increase in the prices of the goods, the supply of the raw materials. So all these things have taken a hit, and this is leading to increase in this NPA, in fact, right? So now what are the steps? What are the steps that are required? More robust credit risk management, like regulatory reforms, like higher provisioning of the stressed assets, detailed sectoral plus individual analysis of the profit loss, financial safeguards, etc. Widening of power of RBI through a series of legislations and executive orders. Example, the punitive measures were introduced as part of the prompt corrective action framework. Okay, the SARFACI Act, the bad bank establishment, those also we can include. The key reforms of PSBs, okay, those are also important, like incorporating usage of the third-party data sources for due diligence, online end-to-end one-time settlement platforms, strict segregation of the monitoring and sanctioning of higher value loans. All these things are the major reforms which we can take, right? So taking all these steps, okay, this will ensure that the balance sheet is clean and maintained, and this will ensure that the banking system remains robust. So next, the 19th question is on the sterilization. So sterilization means it's a form of monetary action where central bank limit or neutralize the effect of inflows and outflows of capital on the money supply. The RBI's means to stabilize money supply against external shocks. If you see the open market operations, like the market stabilization scheme, under which excess money from the market is withdrawn by the RBI, the balances of Government of India with RBI, right? That is also another thing. The forex swaps. So the forex swaps helps in the postponement of the creation of liquidity and generated by these capital inflows and the consequent accretion to the reserves, right? So these are the things that we can write. Okay. Next, the 20th question is on the FRBM Act, the Fiscal Responsibility Budget Management Act of 2003. So the FRBM Act, this act originally was passed in 2003 to introduce transparency in India's fiscal management system, like turning the point into fiscal reforms. That means ensuring that the fiscal, you can say, the finances of the government are in a healthy state. That is the major aim of this FRBM Act. So the objectives are the government need to ensure this intergenerational equity, because the loans that are taken today have to be paid tomorrow by the future generation. The long-term macroeconomic stability via sufficient revenue surplus, removing these fiscal obstacles to monetary policy, effective debt management by limiting deficits and borrowing, and giving RBI the flexibility to deal with inflation, and to introduce equitable distribution of India's debt over the years. So these are the major objectives. So just remember 4-5 objectives like intergenerational equality, long-term macroeconomic stability, removing fiscal obstacles, ensuring healthy finances to attract more capital, more investments, and also ensure that the inflation is in control. And also another thing is that we can also say that this will control the government from giving more freebies, because these days we are seeing that also, so that also we can include. And features, if you see, features like it mandates government to take measures to reduce fiscal deficit and revenue deficit. If fiscal deficit and revenue deficit are not achieved, the government have to give the reason in the parliament, and also they have to reduce these expenditures. So all these things, and the government shall not borrow from the RBI except by ways and means advances to meet the temporary excess of cash disbursement and all. RBI must not subscribe to this issue of the G6 from 2006-7. This was also taken. And every year government lays down these 3 statements: the medium-term fiscal policy statement, fiscal policy strategy statement, and the macroeconomic framework statement, along with the annual financial statement. And also this has an escape clause, where this escape clause basically was recommended by the encasing committee on FRBM. Right, FRBM was amended further in 2018. Act was reviewed in 2016 by encasing, and later it was revised. It was amended in 2018, where 0.5% of escape clause was given by this committee, in fact. And this encasing committee suggested the target of debt to GDP ratio as 60%, to bring it to 60%, comprising 40% for the center and 20% for the states. And it recommended to reduce the fiscal deficit from 3.5% to 2.5%, and 0.5%, as I said, is the escape clause. But because of COVID, the government is not able to follow these things. Okay, so these are the major things about this FRBM Act and all. Okay, so I think it's clear now. So if the question is asked on this, you have to write all these things, especially these targets: 60% of GDP, because that is important, and this 3.5% of the bringing of this fiscal deficit to 2.5%. to 3.5 was in 2017, now it is much more. So bringing it to 2.5% by 2023, which is not possible, but we just have to write these are the targets. These are the targets. Okay, so that's it, guys. These are the 5 questions for the day. In the next lecture, we will start with the next test, that is test 5, right? And all the documents that we are using in these discussions is the summary documents prepared by VOWIAS. You can check these summaries from our Telegram channel. The Telegram channel details are there in the description. So that's it from my side. I'll see you again tomorrow with the next set of questions. Till then, keep studying and stay tuned. Jai Hind.